So, Dr. Deaton, again, thank you. Would you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with the Griffiths Leadership Society?
I'd be happy to. First, there's kind of a prelude. This is a true story. So when I was directing a state agency, I cannot tell you how much those directors rely on their staff. They're knowledgeable staff that know all the stats, that know the legislation, that know all these things that you need to know in 5 minutes before you stand up to speak or you write something or whatever. So this one day I have to do something and I run back to this staff member who is supplying me with wonderful supports and summaries of things and things I need to know before I go to this meeting or that. And he's not there. And I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I know that he has a few staff himself that help him. So I turn around and I go to the one in the next cubicle, a young woman. I'm going to say she was in her late 20s or early 30s. And I said, oh, you know, I am so sorry, Brenda, but do you know where this material is kept? I need to get to it in this report. And she looked at me and she said, Dr. Deaton, I write those reports. I do those reports. And I said, you do? Because they never had come in her name. No one had ever mentioned her name. And so I said, wonderful. I said, well, this is what I need, and I need it by this afternoon, and can you get it to me? And she said, yes, and she did. And when he came in the next day, I said, we need to have a discussion. I said, she's amazing, and when she prepared in a short period of time, so I knew she was preparing all this stuff. And I said, you need to honor that. You need to figure out a new title for her. We need to figure out a raise for her. Long story short, I promoted this young woman eventually above this gentleman. She was doing massive amounts of work. She was basically doing all his work. At any rate, what I learned and what I shared with other directors at that time in state agency is we need to identify these young women with their natural talents and their interest in being leaders in their field. You're not only leaders always by a top position, but you're a leader by what you do, what you're contributing, your character, how you operate in crisis. There's all kinds of leadership that you provide in life. And we started a bag lunch seminar for young women who were interested in somehow getting above that glass ceiling and above some people that were keeping them down. And when I realized that, of course, I was deeply involved here at Mizzou, and I went to the vice provost for student affairs, and then I think it was the dean for professional and graduate students, and said, we need to start a leadership event. And they said, guess what? One is underway. That was this. They told me, they're already on top of it. We're going to make this happen. And I said, I'm all in. Tell me what to do. And I applied to be a mentor. And I have been in love with Griffiths ever since, because I have seen the fulfillment of its mission in so many young women who I'm privileged to still be in contact with today. My first mentee, Susan Combs, who I visit every time I go to New York City, and went as an MU grad and from off the farm and started her own insurance business in Manhattan. Who does that? Who does that? But people do that who graduate from Mizzou, and people do that who gain the self-confidence that you're going to gain for being in this program.
Thank you. I didn't know that as well. Interesting. So tell us what your favorite Griffiths moment is.
Well, this is easy. I've had a favorite Griffiths moment at every conference I come to, and they're all the same. So I hope this happened last night. And they are the icebreakers. Did you do an icebreaker last night? Okay, so every icebreaker I have been involved in has been fun, You could feel the excitement in the room. You could feel the energy and the anticipation that people knew that they were going to hear from speakers like you just heard from, and you'll hear from throughout the conference, who are sharing so generously with you their life experiences, their career experiences, and that you're just going to gain. You're going to be like a sponge and absorb it all. And people sense that from the icebreaker forward. And they also sense the power of networking. Even in that room at that moment, you can see the power of networking with your peers and with others as well. So for me, the icebreakers at every conference have been memorable moments.
You know, as I was reading your bio, I was just blown away by your involvement, your advocacy for so many important social issues like aging, autism, poverty, early childhood education, women's leadership, as we just discussed, just to name a few. How do you stay positive and maintain your resilience when you face so many obstacles?
Okay, I really did bring some notes, only because I don't want to have a senior moment, only because I don't want to talk to you and forever and you don't get to lunch. I want to make sure that there are a couple of points that I made. But first of all, there is no time for pessimism. There is no time for cynicism. There is no time for any ism, because so much needs to be done. When you have incorporated this truism into the marrow of your leadership bones, you have it forever, and you become that eternal optimist, which in the end is the only rational position to take. Because when you are an optimist, you are full of hope, and hope leads to action. You can't just go around saying, oh, I hope this or that for that program, or I hope this or that for my school or society or my family. No. When you are hopeful, you have to honor that hope you have within yourself, and you have to plan and take action. And that comes from optimism. You have to think of your time and energy as so precious. Think of a full circle, a big circle, and slice that circle every day into pie pieces, right? I doubt that you're going to find 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes left over for a slice of pie that's marked pessimism or cynicism. No, you won't. And if you get a slice of pie left over, call your mother, your father, your grandmother, your best friend. Send somebody a note. That's what to do with any slice of pie you manage to have left over, but not cynicism. I realize the divisiveness in our culture today, and I am not here to say that I am not emotionally drained by what's going on in our country. But I'm fighting that because I have no slices of time and energy to give to it. At the same time, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring politics. I'm not one of those people that raised my children saying, now don't talk about religion and politics. Quite the contrary, because it is religion and politics that are the most influential motivators of human behavior. What we need to do to modulate that human behavior so it's the effective right human behavior is to let it be guided by our values. And you are being guided here at the University of Missouri by respect, responsibility, discovery, and excellence. These are models for a lifetime. Wherever you bloom, wherever you're planted, contemplate what those values mean and let those values direct your behavior. It's with civility that I encourage you to not walk away from difficult dialogues with your friends and your neighbors and even your families where things are getting so difficult. But that's why learning civility, learning how to listen and how to speak with sensitivity is so important, so we can have these difficult dialogues and respect and honor one another. And so we can become informed voters and vote. Let us all remember what Oprah Winfrey said this past week. Women have gotten the right to vote in just under 100 years, that's all. It's our crown. It's our crown, one of our crowns. Wear your crown and always vote. So there's no time for pessimism. There's so much to do.
Thank you. Dr. Deaton, throughout your life, what has motivated you to serve others?
Example is the first thing that I would say. I would say example from my mother and father, example from the nuns that taught me, example from my husband who was in Peace Corps before I ever met him, example from his mother and father, example from my own 4 children who today are doing all they can in the communities that they live in to increase the quality of life. Example also from organizations that help those that are less fortunate. I benefited from those early in my life. My parents were poor. There was no after-school activities, no Girl Scout because you couldn't afford uniforms. There was never a book in my home. But people made things happen. There were no museum visits or zoo visits, but people made those happen for us. And I see today all the organizations in our community here and in the community where I know you live, that people are making those things happen. So by example, I think that I have been led to ask each day when I get up, who am I going to be an example for today? And that is the biggest motivator of all for me.
So to further that, tell us what you're working on now. A few things.
Yeah, so throughout my life, I'm a child of the 60s, and I began by working on meaningful things, fighting against the war in Vietnam, being a member in the fight against the war on poverty. My husband and I were both in the mountains, even with 2 children, working on economic development, fighting as a younger mother and woman against segregation, discrimination. We integrated a pool in Knoxville, Tennessee. All of those things are preludes to today. One of the past ones, most importantly, because I feel our life has come 360, is that we were in Ecuador working in poor communities, extremely poor communities, and fighting hunger. And today, we were honored when my husband retired as chancellor to have an institute created in our name to focus on extreme poverty issues and global food security issues. And we bring do we have any Deaton scholars in this room today? Yay, yay, yay! Raise your hand. Oh my gosh. Okay. So each semester we have clusters of students that try to identify a problem around those issues and then come up with some creative solutions, maybe some that they might even try. The biggest part of the Deaton Scholar program, though, is focused on the process, on the experience of working with people you don't know from other disciplines that you might not connect with, from people of different talents and viewpoints. And how do you gel as a group? And how do you make something happen? It isn't always easy, is it? But that process and that experience will lead them to work more effectively in wherever life takes them. We're sure of that. The medical school at our university and the School of Social Work are focused on problem-based learning. Those approaches where people have to respect one another's viewpoints, and you have to trust that someone will do the part of their task in the group to get the job done. So those group dynamics are a big part of the Deaton Scholar program. And the other big part of it is to say, no matter what you do in life, you don't have to work in ag or be a social worker to focus on global food security and extreme poverty. Every single one of us can affect that because those things hinge on public policy. When you vote for someone, particularly at the federal level, but certainly at the state level as well, because I can tell you, votes around Medicaid and other social service issues were critically important to the extreme poor in this state. But your vote is powerful. So you really do affect those issues, whether globally or domestically. Ask the person you're voting for, what is their position on helping people in developing countries and on helping people at home? What is their position on health care? Which is a scourge for so many of the underemployed, underprivileged, and poor people in this country. And your vote, and this is what we want the Deaton Scholars to know, is extremely powerful. Oh, wait. I didn't tell you about the Children's Grove. I quickly have to tell you about the Children's Grove. The Children's Grove, and this is one of those things, you've seen that phrase, she believed she could, so she did it, or something like that. I love that little phrase. So right after the tragedy of Sandy Hook, that was 2012, the whole country, you were little, but the whole country was grieving. And on this campus, my husband and I, we didn't know what to do. So we got a huge wreath, and just like about 2 or 3 hours before we did this, we said to the campus, we're going to put the wreath out by the columns. And if anyone wants to come by and talk about this and talk about what we might do, that would be wonderful. I want you to know that people lined up in the quad, and Brady and I was standing there, and it was almost like the line in a wake when you go to a service and you get to the family and you hug them and say, I'm sorry. People were crying, hugging us, saying, I'm sorry. And then and there, I knew this community had to respond. And I didn't know how we might respond. But the very next day, I was going to a group of women. There's nobody like women. I mean, we're just tremendous. And I said to these women, I know this is a Christmas party, but we have to do something. And I'm not sure what. Maybe I was thinking about a grove of trees that would memorialize children who had met harm's way. But I wasn't even thinking clearly, but I was saying we have to do something. Within 2 days, I got over 50 emails from the women in that group saying, we don't know what you're talking about exactly, but we're totally with you. And I took that to the mayor and to the editor of the town newspaper, and I said, these are your citizens. We're going to do something in this community. We did. Robin Winokur is in here, and she's been amazing with us from the beginning. We planned a fundraising campaign for the trees because the city gave us the land in Stevens Park, and we never got to execute it. People just started giving us money, and we raised $23,000 in 3 months. Did the grove and said we're not stopping here. So today we have many different programs in this community to promote a culture of kindness, and we define kindness as respect, inclusivity, and compassion. So you can imagine the kinds of programs we can have in the community and the schools under that. And secondly, we are concerned about the mental health of young people, and we sponsor community mental health education programs. And we have an opportunity for all of you on November 17th to take something called Youth Mental Health First Aid. I'm going to send this information to someone so you can get it. This is an internationally renowned program to help you better understand when you look at a person younger than yourself, when you look at a peer, a brother, a sister, a neighbor, a friend, if they are in emotional stress, and how you can competently and effectively respond. It doesn't make you a mental health professional, but this is an 8-hour certificate earning program that all of the teachers in Boone County themselves have had, and the Children's Grove is offering it to the lay public and to MU students. We've had many MU students go through this program, so I'm going to send the information to to someone, and it's free. If you took it elsewhere, it'd be like $175 to $200.
And one final question, which I think is so important, just any words of wisdom for our members, collegians getting ready to embark on their careers, or our alumni members who may be facing challenges or considering the next career steps for them?
Okay. So the most important thing is you have to be good to yourself. This well from which you give, you have to take care of it. You have to have joy and happiness in it to project it forth. So you have to take care of yourself. That's why I was talking about balance. All these good things have to include goodness to yourself. You have to be good to your family, both your biological and your built family, your naturally occurring family that you will make throughout life. Keep these people close. Be good to them. Be there for them. Be thankful. Be thankful. You always have blessings. I love this little Buddhist exercise of where you take a walk in one, you can do this in your bedroom, take a walk in one direction, and with every step, think about that which is hurtful to you. Turn around, walk back, and think about every blessing, and you will walk much, much farther. And it's a calming thing, and it helps you to be thankful. I urge you to grow, or don't grow, a sponge where a spine should be. Have the courage of your convictions. Speak up, speak out, speak with civility. Be aware of who you are and the power you have. Be aware of your talents, your particular passions. Honor them, respect them, take action upon them. And in your thankfulness to family and community, be thankful to Mizzou. They're part of your family. Work for justice, work for liberty, work for the happiness of others, and whatever path life takes you, you will have accomplished, I believe, what you want to accomplish in life. Thank you.